know, the bigger problem when you tell lies, particularly on a worldwide stage, as both Meghan and Harry have done over these last few years, is simply this. There's always somebody there to fact check, as it were, the truth. And when, of course, you've done things literally on the worldwide stage, particularly by respected journalists, some people might say, they're always ready to hit back because it's their work you're criticising. If you cast your mind back, way back now, of course, to that now infamous engagement interview, you know, the one with the BBC, where Meghan was goofing around and trying to take distraction away from Prince Harry, even then you could feel a cringe factor coming through the screen. People at first said, oh, she's independent. No, what I saw was somebody that wouldn't behave. And clearly that's exactly what our late and wonderful monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, found as well. It was all there on the screen, wasn't it? And then, of course, we found out a little bit later on, it was all, apparently, according to Meghan, orchestrated reality. Terrible. You know, she didn't enjoy a moment of it. That's not exactly how the BBC saw it, though. But now there's also another development. As ever, let me explain. Morning, how are you? Nice to see you today. Listen, we're in the beautiful Hyde Park. It's nice, isn't it? You see all that beautiful greenery there. It's all the rain, isn't it? You know, I know I say that, but it just is literally. We've had so much rain and then we've had this humidity, which does make the trees and everything, the grass, and look lush, doesn't it? It is almost picture postcard. I can understand why people think, well, you know, England's green and pleasant land, as they call it. It truly is. Wish you were here. We could have a pot of tea sat on a bench. Yeah, well, you could watch my bag while I fall asleep, and I could watch yours while you fall asleep. Take it in turns. You've got to look after yourself in this city, let me tell you. Back as ever to your royal story of the day. So we've got the giggles now, but you're making me laugh, you see what I mean? It's true, though. Anyway, yes, you know, the orchestrated reality of that engagement interview, it's really interesting what's come out because, you know, Michelle Hussein is a respected journalist. You know, she's done incredibly well in her career for the BBC, and it did seem a bit of an odd choice for her to do it, but basically, you know, she was down to do that. I know that she's very respectful of the British monarchy, so I got that, but you know, it clearly was more of a journalistic interview rather than a fun, frivolous one. But now what's emerged is simply this, you see. Meghan Markle from the very off, and this is a really big, interesting point to notice. You know, clearly she'd had conversations with her chum at the time, no longer chum, that is Oprah Winfrey. And apparently she wanted Oprah to fly over to London, or Gayle King, one or the other would do, and then they were going to sit down and do this now famous interview with Meghan and Harry. Something apparently that Harry was very keen on as well, because he'd obviously had certain contacts with Oprah in the past. But I just figured that he was going along with her because he thought, well, you know, whatever she wants, you know, the typical whatever Meghan wants, Meghan gets. And apparently there was a bit of a hissy fit when it was pointed out to her that actually didn't work like that with the royal rota. The royal rota was, of course, that they had to sit down with a respected broadcaster, i.e. the BBC at the time. You know, William and Catherine had done that, everybody else had done that throughout the years, and of course at ITN too. Here's where it got interesting though, because according to a source on that set working on that day, Meghan was less than thrilled at the choice of interviewer. And on top of all of that, she wanted to know who owned the rights to the interview. Now, one would suspect, of course, that if it was Oprah Winfrey or Gayle King, they would have done it for their own production company and licensed the interview out. You see how all of this was right at the beginning now? You see what Meghan was looking to do? Monetise from the off. Of course, people were very wise to that. But even after the interview had finished, what was strange was no one at the BBC received any glowing thank you card or, you know, thank you for your time, we enjoyed it, whatever. Nothing came back from the BBC, to the BBC from Kensington Palace. From the staff, thanking them, but nothing from Harry and Meghan. So everything you needed to know exactly about how this was going to pan out in the future. Clearly Meghan had her eye on the dough right from the off, and more importantly, Harry was just going along with it. He would have known it couldn't have been syndicated or bought by somebody else, but too weak, too frightened, and literally no backbone to tell her the truth. Either way, you can understand why Michelle now is speaking out, can't you? Neil Sean, Hyde Park, London.